Welcome to First Blood Speed Review. Alright, Brutal Legend from GOG.com. So, works perfectly fine after the install. There's a couple video settings, but it's pretty smooth for the most part, and it seems to be well optimized. This is another one of the games where I purposely played with a controller as opposed to trying to set it up with the keyboard and mouse, just because it's sort of a weird action platformer racing game, so I chose to use the controller. So the game starts out with fairly long cutscenes, and then you start to have a few interactive tutorials. There's quite a lot of different gameplay elements in this game because it's sort of a mix between an action game, more like God of War, racing game, and an open world exploration game. So the whole first hour is really tutorial and introduction to the gameplay elements, and it's all pretty well scripted in with the story, so it's pretty entertaining. It doesn't feel very difficult to get through. And granted, this game is sort of a niche game, so if you're not into heavy metal, probably won't necessarily enjoy this game as much as someone who's really into metal, because the whole thing is pretty much making fun of heavy metal. But the gameplay is solid enough in the beginning that I think most people will make it through the first hour fine and not feel dragged down. Now, the gameplay itself is a mix between an action game, like I said, around similar to God of War, an action strategy game. I think the closest thing I could think of would be like Overlord, where you have more powerful allies, like the named characters like Lars and Ophelia, who I don't think can die when they're playing with you, and then you have kind of like minions. So you have mild strategic elements because you sort of can command where people go, or if they stay and defend a place, or if they follow you. But you just know resource management, there's no base building, none of that stuff. And then there's the whole racing, driving, exploration. So after the first mission, you get introduced to the main map, and you have the vehicle, which you can summon whenever, and you'll take the vehicle and drive to your quests, and there are side missions and things like that. And all this is done so that you can get pretty much upgrade points. And there's hidden things too, there's a lot of hidden things throughout the world. But early on you'll find access to the motor forge. You basically can upgrade all your items there, you can upgrade your vehicle, you can buy new outfits when they get unlocked, things like that. And so far everything is pretty well priced. The side missions most of them don't take very long unless you're constantly failing them, and you get a decent amount of a reward from them. And then the story missions themselves are really entertaining and fun, so it doesn't really feel very grindy. The only thing is that the open world does feel not necessarily small, but kind of empty. So the one major con that I've had so far with the game is just a lot of the side missions, they're like ambushes pretty much. They're just I don't know, street fights pretty much. But whether you win or lose is actually based on if all your little minions die, which is really irritating because it has nothing to do with skill at that point. It just has to do with pretty much your AI. So when you're playing on the harder difficulties, I was playing on the hardest difficulty, brutal, you have to literally babysit all of your guys because they will die instantly pretty much from the enemies, which is just kind of irritating. Another small thing is just you can't jump, which that's totally fine in a lot of games. It's just kind of strange because you have this big open world. Granted, most of the time you're just driving, but you can't jump over a fence. I don't know, that sort of bugs me a little bit. It's also sort of strange because you're in this big open world that you have to drive around, but you have no in-game waypoints, which usually I'm very happy when there's no crap cluttering everything. But in this case, it's actually really irritating because you have to constantly pause and open your map to see the trail that you have to go on, and you have to kind of guess it based off the map. Now, this is irritating because there's some side missions where you're driving around and you have to go from one point to another. And the first time you're playing the game, you have no idea, you don't know the map, you don't know the terrain, so you have no idea where you're going, and you have to constantly look at your map. Now, the good news is, it freeze frames your game. And there is one in-game indicator, it's a very far distant stage lights, basically. It's not a big deal. because it still works perfectly fine the way it's set up, but for the first time player, it's just kind of strange, especially now because we're kind of spoiled by all the hand holding in modern games. Other than that, you just don't have a hit point bar or anything on screen, which, you know, is a common modern gameplay element. The screen just turns red, so take that for what you will. I do find it a little difficult to gauge just how much health you have left, but it's really not a big deal. Alright, so I'm not gonna lie, after my first taste of blood, I love this game. Okay, so I'm sort of biased because I'm a huge metalhead and I love all the in-game references. There's a lot of like Easter eggs and references to real people and real bands. The music, the background music is phenomenal because it's actually all real bands. And I even thought I heard some tracks that were specifically made for the game by some of these bands, which is really awesome. I mean, overall, the game's a little strange because it sort of suffers from it has no idea what it really wants to be, except a really awesome spoof on metal. So that's probably pretty much the demographic that will want to buy this game anyway. It's not for kids, but they do have a few censoring things in-game that you can choose to do in the beginning. Like you can choose to remove some of the violence and blood and some of the swearing, you can have it bleeped out. But yeah, it's definitely not for kids. It's a spoof of metal. There's a lot of suggestive themes, there's a lot of violence, there's a lot of over-the-top crazy demons and stuff. So yeah, I think overall, the game itself, probably like a 4 out of 5, like 80. It's not gonna be for everybody. Definitely worth full price that it is now, and I'm gonna love playing this game. So thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. Check out the links in the description if you want to help support me. I'll see you next time.